All right, Caleb, welcome. We're so excited that you're here.
Thank you. So my the first 4 flips I did in my career ever, I did all the work myself. 100. That first building I bought when I was 18, that was actually how I convinced the bank to give me 100% financing, was that I said I was going to do all the work. I was going to put sweat equity in it. I was an 18-year-old kid. I had no job, and they gave me 100% financing. Like, are you kidding me? Like they should never. The bank's still in business, actually. Never let me have money. I went in and I had a big old binder, with all the stuff I was going to do to the property, and I did all the work, Aubrey, in the early days myself first. I installed the windows, did the painting, like I did everything. I taught myself how to do everything. My dad was a very awesome hands-on guy, and he taught me how to do a lot of that stuff growing up as a kid. So when I was 18, I just kept that going. Even wiring, things like that, I would try to learn it myself, and it became very valuable as time went on, because I would hire contractors then who would say, hey, to install your windows is 12 grand. And I was like, well, that's not right, because to put a replacement window in, it's like 4 screws. I'm like, I'll give you $50 a window. And they're like, yeah, fine. So when you've done a lot of the work yourself, you can really make some wise decisions with a lot of the contractors that you're going to hire eventually. So in flipping, there's like kind of 2 ways you can take. There's some people that make like HGTV flips. Like I have a friend of mine, Janet, she is like probably one of the greatest interior designers I've ever seen. Every one of her flips, you swear like Joanna Gaines was there, or like HGTV filmed the whole thing, because it's just beautiful. She thought of like every little thing in every little room. I was on the other end. I was like your spec house flip model, where I'm like, how do I do 200 flips a year? Like I was building, like that's what I'm building towards. All of our flips are same carpet, typically same flooring or same floor covering, like carpet, same painting, same trim work, same on almost on every one of the houses. If the house had dark woodwork, these are the colors we painted the walls. If we painted the trim white, here's the color we painted the walls. And like that was about as unique as we made each project. So I did all the work in the early days, but then I realized that if I want to do 50 flips a year, like I think our best year was 50, a little bit under 50. If we want to do 50 flips a year, you have to have a different model. And so the model that we took is where we end up hiring everything out. Your profit margins are less, but you make it up on the volume. So my advice is that you do the work yourself first, but then you quickly try to replace yourself to hire people to do it over time.
Great. All right. Well, I think we're good on questions for now. So if you want to just go into a little bit of the kind of spreadsheet type stuff, there's some people anxious to see that. So we'll go there next.
Let's see. I think I can share the screen, right? Yeah, I can.
Yep.
All right. Can you guys all see my property inspection sheet?
We can see it.
Okay. All right. So when any flip that I'm ever going to do, one of these, we fill out a sheet like this. It's literally a Google sheet. So property inspection sheet, you guys, every property that my acquisition team looks at, they fill one of these out every time, right? Like what's the logic and the numbers telling you? This is how we make sure we're not making an emotional decision. We're making a logical decision on the investment, okay? This is just something that I put together. Back when I was showing all those investors properties, I realized most of them had like sheets that they'd fill out while they were there, and they shared them with me. And like, so I just kind of like put them all together and made a Google sheet out of it. On every one, we put the address, we put the date, and then we put the ARV, that after repair value. What is it going to be worth once it's done? Okay. And the best way to do this, I teach the 3x3x3 model to come up with this value, or the 5x5x5 model, depending on how many comps you have. And this is no different than a CMA. The difference is that you're doing a CMA in the future of what this property is really going to look like. Okay. So you in your mind have to go new flooring, new cabinets, new paint, new, all those things. And you get 3 active on the market comps. So like, what's the competition currently today? You get 3 pending. Okay. Here are 3 properties that are pending. And then you get 3 properties that have sold. And then you start using those numbers to come up with it. That after repair value is crucial. As a real estate investor, if you're off by 10 grand on this, If you're 10 grand off, you're going to get burned, because you'll learn that I teach to build in a $20,000 profit margin. If you're off by 10, you've already pretty much squished your margin. And it's the one you should spend the most amount of time on making sure that you have it dialed in. Next thing is that you got bedrooms, baths, things like that, okay? We fill this out on everyone, but literally go line by line by line. If you guys are gonna use this Google Sheet to take down some flips, you know, for you to make some investments, go line by line by line. Don't skip any lines. Some of my biggest pains have been when I abandoned this model. If you don't know these, okay, let's say this is your first investment and you're like, okay, I don't know how much windows are gonna cost. Minimum of 3 bids, okay? Get it under contract if you think it's a good deal, get a minimum of 3 window bids, and then I even push people, if it's your first time flipping, try to get to like 7. Because when you can get to 7, you can throw out the highs and you can maybe throw out a lower 2, but you'll get a really good idea of what market value is for windows to be installed. And I do that for each one of these. So your first flip is going to take the most amount of time because you got the most amount of learning to do, but yet you can also start, don't cheat that process, right? Collect bids for the roof, collect the bids for the windows, collect the bids for landscaping and the kitchen and the appliances. Just keep collecting, and pretty soon you become a very sharpened flipping machine because you took the time to learn each one of these categories. There's so much that goes into these numbers. And this sheet, it should take a couple hours on your first time, but then eventually you'll get it down to where it takes 15 or 20 minutes to fill it out really well, okay? Fill this sheet out, and then you're going to come up with this total repair estimate for the job. What I do is I have that pull over to my offers tab, and then I always tell people this is my super secret formula because I think that's funny. Everybody you can find this formula like anywhere on the internet, but it's our super secret flip formula where it takes the ARV from the first sheet, times that by 90%. There's an error factor in there, commissions, yep, carrying costs, yep, and then closing costs, right? So that's why we charge it by 90%, just right off the get. Like it's just gone. Those of you guys who are agents, there's a little bit more margin in there for you when you're selling your own property, but just leave it in there. It'll protect you. I always tell people 20 grand minimum, and sometimes I will manually manipulate this number. Let's say it's a $26,000 job. I've been doing this long enough. A $26,000 job should take 2.5 weeks of construction. If it's a $50,000 job, that should take 5 weeks. It's a very big job, but you can get it done if you just plan really well and have the right people on your team. So I always pushed our flips really, really hard because the shorter time that you held on to them, less closing costs, less room for error, and all those different pieces. So for basically every 1,000 of repairs, or every 10,000 of repairs, it's about a week's worth of construction is what is the model that we used, okay? Like my very first flip that I put $50,000 into, I think it took 5 months, okay? So just, this is somebody that's been doing it a while talking about it, but like if you could build a company that pushes towards that, you're only gonna benefit from this. $20,000 in profit is what we aim for on every one of our flips. If this repair budget was actually 50,000, I probably would push this to 30, if not more. Because $50,000, the jobs start getting bigger, the risk is a little bit higher, you're not sure what you might uncover, but depending on the amount of repairs that it's needed, if it's 20,000 to 30,000, I'll aim for 20, I'll aim for that $20,000 profit margin. That's the formula that we use. But if you can dial those in, you're setting yourself up for 70, 80, 90% success, okay?